right. Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and non binary, interplanetary, intergalactic time travelers. We salute you. I am Oliver, and I'm in a bunker I call Studio 72. So let me check the audio here. Yeah, it's not really registering. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Check, 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 check. Okay, bear with me here for just a second. So it says it's going. It's hard to tell exactly what's happening here with this whole setup. My God, I still am not comfortable in the driving seat here with this new dashboard. So I'm hoping that the audio is not just on the keyboard, but it's also on this little thing here, little microphone here. But I just wanted to kind of chime in on some things that are going on. It's been pretty intense here lately, and it's sometimes we got to talk about things. For me, it's like I feel like it's almost therapeutic about to talk about some of these things, and whenever I kind of get like a bad moon rising type of thing, it kind of freaks me out too. Well, it doesn't freak me out, but it's like a spidey sense. It's not a spidey sense. I'm not freaked out. It's not like that, but you can just kind of sense sometimes when danger is lurking. Danger's around the corner, and you just kind of want to talk about some of this stuff. First, I'm still kind of testing things, so I want to test here and see if we can actually get the audio to play on this StreamYard. So I want to see if I can click that. So can you hear that? Or is it silent? Is it muted? Just kind of testing, checking. This is a pretty interesting piece. This is Firenado. Kids do acid preview. What do you? Cylinder. This is a year ago. It's a techno Firenado. It seems kind of appropriate, doesn't it? For the time, at least, we've been seeing some Firenados. So let's see. Again, I'm just checking to see if the audio is going. I couldn't tell last time if the audio was coming through the mics or actually through here. The sound just was not completely, all good. But so first of all, I want to talk about sending condolences to the friends and family, associates, and Californians that have suffered great traumatic loss in California. Anytime people experience fire and total devastation, it leaves lifelong scars, emotional scars, psychological trauma, and psychological scars. So you have to keep that in mind. I recommend that you keep that in mind as some people are celebrating California burning. You know, before these fires burned, there was kind of an insane, somewhat insane, I consider her deranged, Green Party chancellor up in Canada, Elizabeth May. Elizabeth May, I've followed her for years. She's had a series of psychological, emotional breakdowns, and she's probably a borderline personality disorder type of lady. But and she was talking about we're going to take Washington, Oregon, and California, I believe is what she had said. So, see, something is not right with the audio here because it's not coming on my headphones. It's probably getting picked up from the keyboard. Um, anyway, she said, and the whole point was there is Elizabeth May, Canadian Green Party, right? An insane Green Party, standing with Nazis, was emotional and crying on the Parliament floor in Canada about how we've got to fight Putin and stand with these. I don't know if she said Nazis, but remember, Canadian Parliament had literal Nazi veterans memorial distinguished received whatever Canadian bizarro medals that they give people, but that was, and then there was a whole bunch of political blowback because they're like, you realize this guy's a fucking Nazi and helped kill millions of Jews, right? You're celebrating him on the parliamentary floor. You're honoring this guy like he's a prophet. Totally bizarre. I don't know if you guys remember that, but there's no way I will ever forget that. But I digress. Well, the point was there is when she said that we're going to, it was like a gesture because Trump's been talking about Greenland and Panama. And actually, we should just kind of, I don't know how you say, consolidate Canadian territories right in with USA, in my opinion. Why not? Trump's kind of been implying stuff like that. So she was just kind of, playing the same way like the Mexican communist lady down in Mexico was doing. She wants to take huge chunks of California and remember the Alamo. It's like she was sending. Ironically, that's when all the fire started, is when the Mexican communists made threats to take California back into Mexico. Coincidence? Probably. Intentional? Maybe. I mean, you can't ever rule this kind of stuff out. And I find it kind of ironic that if she had something to do with these fires, which we are catching people with multiple cell phones and UN passport, credit cards, and all this other crazy crap, and that's the border, it's her people. It's kind of ironic that she sends in the arsonists and then sends in the firefighters. Right? I mean, leave it to the Mexican communists to come put out your fires, right, in the wealthiest neighborhoods in the country. That doesn't that sound kind of like a Marxist, kind of a communist thing to do? It sure does to me. And speaking of Marxist, how about Mayor Bass, who has done multiple trips to Cuba? She worships Marxism, probably Maoism, loves communism, loves Castro, loves totalitarian. And she is the mayor of one of the most elitist, capitalist, exclusive neighborhoods in the country, possibly the world. It's on her watch that the city burns. Coincidence? Probably. Intentional? Maybe. It's one of those things where you decide. If the case came to your courtroom, what would you do? What would Judge Joe Brown do? Right? So, it's there's a lot of mistakes that were done. Gavin Newsom just wants to come out, governor just wants to come out and say that there was fire hurricanes, and there was nothing he could do. Well, the reservoir was empty, no water. Coincidence? Could be. Intentional? Maybe. You decide. But that's that level of incompetence during Southern California, during fire season, which it's pretty much always fire season on the West Coast. I mean, that's just the way it is. Unless you're in the Pacific Northwest on a heavy rain year, which we have been blessed. California has had multiple atmospheric rivers. So you got to push back against these Bernie Sanders delusional grandpas in the rocking chair, Oh, climate change. Climate change. Look, if the weather's changing, it's climate. Oh, God, look, you got to be insane if you can't see that this is climate change in California. Bernie Sanders is retired, dude. I mean, these guys, we're finding missing Congress people in Alzheimer's dementia homes. And their staff has been voting for them for months. I mean, that could be Bernie Sanders. I mean, we could have staffers voting for Bernie Sanders because he's just not well. And most of these people are not well in the upper age. You did your time, graciously step out. It's time to move on. There's a whole bunch of younger generations, like a lot of younger generations in some of your cases, some of you guys' cases. It's time to give them a chance to kind of step up, don't you think? I think so. Let's stop being so narcissistic and selfish and staying in Congress for hundreds and hundreds of years. You remember Noah and building great big arcs and weird shit like this. Time to move on. If you remember biblical happenings, it's probably time to move on from Congress. Hundreds and hundreds of years, long enough. Take a step down. You got multiple mansions. You ever notice how these socialists and these communists have got like all these multiple mansions all over the place? What's up with that? Doesn't that seem kind of odd? You got these guys buying capitalist, multi-million-dollar homes in multiple places of the country, but yet they're out in the streets saying, fight, let's get them, go, burn it down, revolution, yay, power to the people, and killing whitey, kill, ye. Insane. It's been insane for years. And here they are. Here's Bernie with, what's he got, 4 or 5 mansions, It's insane. I mean, it's just hogwash. These guys are the greatest grifters, con artists, snake oil salesmen anywhere on the face of the planet. Don't believe that crap. Don't believe these guys. It's insane. So we've been following, not only have I been tracking the weather ever since these dipshits keep saying it's global warming. And so now they're trying to say that 2024 was the hottest year ever. They've only been keeping records for, like 18 months or something. It's like 2 years. They've got records and now whatever it is, a couple decades, and then they're going to rely on core samples, and then they're going to tell us what the temperatures were from the ice core samples. There is some science to the ice, but it doesn't lean in their climate hysteria direction. So it's really important to push back against these climate change idiots because they're brainwashing young, vulnerable minds. And there's millions of these young, vulnerable minds in California. And they're easily brainwashed and manipulated, especially when they're taught in school like it's reading and math and arithmetic. That's criminal in my world. Out of my book and my perspectives, you're telling kids it's going to make them sick. You're going to tell them they've got just a few years left to live because the planet is not going to be able to sustain itself. It's going to be too hot, and you're all going to die from dehydration and sweats and heat. What kind of fucking message is that to send to our youth? What the is wrong with you guys? And you're calling yourselves stewards? You're calling yourselves care providers of our youth? As you make up delusional fantasies of death, doomsday. What the fuck do you think that does to someone's psychological? What do you think that does to a child's psyche? It makes them do risky behavior. It makes them chase the dragon off a foil. It makes them go out and party and take risks because it doesn't matter. They're going to be dead soon, as our elders have told us and programmed us from school and everywhere we go. All the news, all the media, all the government. death, you're gonna die. It's hot and death and goodbye. Hug your parents goodbye. It's insane. It's sick. It's delusional. It's deluded. It's narcissism. And what's mostly sick to me is they do it for a political agenda. You're not even doing that to better the children, young people, teens, and even 20s. Everyone in their 60s refers to 20s as like everyone under 40 or something, under 30, right? So people say kids, which I don't try not to use that at all. I think that's actually young goats or kids, I believe. But the whole point there is that this climate change alarmism, we've had atmospherics blasting into California. We've had flooding. Last year, there was snow in San Francisco in mid-April. Global warming, and we have record snowfall in the Bay Area in April last year. Shut up. You are so full of bullshit. And then the people that are really, you want to talk about retarded? The full retard on X. And I get this like at least now with Crisis, it's every day, all day. But once a week, you'll get some total, complete, is it brainwashing or is it just like blunt head trauma? They'll say stuff like, it's cold because it's hot. Wait, what? It's cold? Freezing record temperatures in the U.S. for 3 or 4 winters in a row now. And we're going to do it again here next week. We've got snowstorms in Georgia, and Bernie Sanders is talking about global warming. And the fires are from global warming in California when we got snow and ice in Georgia. Historical snow and ice along through the southeast. You guys are going to get a whole bunch more of that. Vermont's going to be 30 below zero. So, Bernie, we're going to hear your tweets, buddy. If you're in Vermont this next, I think it's a week and a half. Maybe it's a week. It's the 19th, 20th, 21st. Another huge polar vortex dip wobble. I call it a wobble. I think other people have called it a wobble. Not a meteorologist, but I follow all their data. It's just like I'm not a doctor, but I read all of their studies. Right? So, whatever that's worth. I'm definitely not a doctor and I'm definitely not a meteorologist. But you know what? Some of us know as much, even more so than some of these graduates, because they're not reading the studies. And you're not following the data. You're reading state propaganda. So, and NOAA comes out and you've got these dipshit meteorologists, these guys who actually are really good with data up in Seattle and these different areas. Washington, they seem to really follow the data better, in my opinion, up there in Washington than they do here in Oregon. Go figure. I don't know what it is. There's more water and damage, and I don't know how it works, but even these dipshits, who I even respect a couple of them, they're talking about, don't shoot the messenger, don't hurt the messenger, because they know it's going to be, they're going to catch a firenado of blowback. They're talking about it being the hottest year on record last year, when we've had record cold winter last year in the Northeast and parts and then we had, like I mentioned, with the snow in the Bay, we had snow on cherry blossoms here in Portland. I think twice. I think the last 2 years. I even took video of it. I could be confusing the year before, but it's recent. We're not supposed to get snow on cherry blossoms. That doesn't come from heat. The coldest air that we've ever seen up around the polar vortex and on the North Pole coming down doesn't mean that anything's warming up. That means it's cold fucking shit and it's going to freeze your ass. You fucking retarded dipshits. Come on, man. I'm trying to be nice. Yeah, I am being nice. Wait till I get really pissy. No. But I hate full retards that come in like that and go, oh, joke's on you, dude. Yeah, the global warming causes things to get cold. Yeah, it gets warm up there and the polar bears die and then the cold comes down here and joke's on you, big guy. Or you get the other one is, God, I hate old people. And I'm like, God, what a horrible, even if I was really old, which am I? I don't think so, bro. These young whippersnappers, I guess their perceptions are a little out of, they see a little gray, and now all of a sudden I'm, 199, 80. What's really 70? 70 is probably getting up there, but is that really old? I don't know. Maybe I'm really old, middle age. I remember the hippies used to say stuff like, or so I was told. I'm Gen X. I'm not quite a hippie, but as they said, you don't trust anybody over 30. I never understood that. Even when I was 20, I'm like, wait, why? What? What's wrong with you guys? Come on now, man. But hey, whatever. People are just so fucking stupid. It's unbelievable. But so 20 minutes in, I just wanted to do a little bit of the little astro aspect. There's some things happening. And I've got that, my spidey senses up. I've got a real kind of sick, bad feeling. Especially for the people that are down there homeless in California, traumatized, with nothing. Some of them had their insurance pulled before the fires, which, another remarkable coincidence? Maybe planned? I don't know. It's hard to imagine that it could be that cutthroat, but insurance, we used to joke, where'd all the mob go? Where'd all the, the Whitey Bulgers go? They went into insurance. I thought it was funny for years. And then I was like thinking about it, and I'm like, they did go into insurance. They went into hedge funds or maybe insurance. It's not even a joke. It's actually true. It's like the mob went into insurance. Don't quote me on that, honestly. But so just looking here at, the aspects, I don't know if you can see that, but these things are really cool because you can look, and it just gives you kind of a little daily thing there. It'll say the day, it'll talk about things that the planet aspects, certain planets or whatever could be at odds. The short form is there's calling for strong winds to come howling Santa Ana. There's always winds down there, but looks like another strong batch coming on top of the incompetence or intentional bungling fuck up of getting these fires out. They're smoldering. They're not completely out yet, if I'm hearing and reading the data accurately, which is just stunning to me. Put the fucking fires out. You see the picture there? The ocean's there. The house is on fire in front of the ocean. Let's drop that ocean water on that house that's on fire. It's right there. Can we do that, guys? Or is that not in the DEI training? We can't do that? Until we get more diverse firefighters? We can't put the ocean that's there in front of the burning house on Malibu? We can't do that yet until we get another 18 months of diversity training? Is that what's going on down there? If that's what's going on, there should be some criminal indictments for homicidal negligence. Yeah, I'm not an attorney, but we should see some indictments. I'd like indictments. You don't have to be an attorney to wish for some, justice. And we're beyond wishing at this point. We're demanding justice in this country and even California. Yeah, the one thing I was going to say about that Elizabeth May is I dropped a couple of people that I've been following for years. They said, take it to Elizabeth May, take Oregon. We don't want Washington. That's, they're not America first. Take California. Elizabeth May says let's give them to them. We don't need the West Coast. And it's like, what the fuck's wrong with you? Washington is half Republican, maybe slightly less. Oregon is clearly half conservative. Most of the state in counties are red. Oregon is red. We got one county in Multnomah County. Maybe Lane is split. And there's Lynn. But one county that's got the Multnomah County that's got all the people. And the teachers' unions. And the other unions. There's the corruption. there's the stranglehold, and that's Oregon. California has a lot more conservatives than people want to give it credit for. And we saw a whole bunch of pink where things should be red. When they're starting to go from blue into a red lean, it gets pinky, right? You've all seen these charts. It's like pinky or pink reddish, light reddish. Isn't that what fucking pink is? Okay. Um, we saw a lot of that. Or I did. I noticed a bunch of that in this last election going towards Trump. And so that's California. And when you've got the same stranglehold, I'm very empathetic to the people that are screaming on X saying, stop telling us that we voted for these Democrats. Stop telling us that we voted for this and we deserve what we got. We didn't vote for Democrats. We didn't vote for these people. That's not what we want. And then people in California are saying that they're cheating and they're miscounting ballots, and there was all kinds of really shady stuff. They're still counting ballots. I heard Donnie say that. I heard Trump say that recently, that they're still counting ballots in some places, and it's the middle of January. The election was in November. Is that true? I mean, if that's true, that's really fucked up, and that should be changed. So the main thing that stands out, what I wanted to get out on this kind of warning, this astro aspect warning, is that the wolf moon is howling at the wolf. I mean, the wolf in itself, you got Werewolf of London, you got wolves. So you got the wolf moon. That in itself is not a good visual. I love wolves. Hey, don't get me started on conservation and all this stuff, okay? And then the farmers hate them. They're going to put the coyotes' carcasses on the wire to warn the rest of the tribe that these are our livestock and we're going to kill you like your leader here is dead. That's a true story. You're driving around down through along Oregon coast. That's where I saw them. And you'll see these carcasses. No joke. Carcasses, coyotes on the wire. And I guess, it's pretty harsh, but I guess that would send a pretty strong message to the rest of the crew that, death is right there. You can probably smell that carcass from miles away too, right? That's probably a big part of it. But set aside the visuals. What's going on with this full moon? It's coming on for tomorrow. Southern California. Santa Ana winds howling at the moon. The Santa Ana winds howling. Right? Firenados. Just like our little techno thing there. If the audio didn't work, I'll try to drop that link in the show. But the Firenado, it's a little techno, but they named it Firenado. So that's going on in. It's clicking into Cancer. So Cancer is the crab. The symbolism is the shell. It's emotional. It's very emotional. And we've got Saturn. It looks like a couple of other planets are in Pisces, which is intuition, but it's also emotional. And the visual I had is like Easter time funerals in the Middle East, where whatever powers that be there, God only knows who's, it's just a proxy war of dozens and dozens of people. But the visual was blowing up a funeral. The visual I had was attacking the funeral over the people that you attacked. And have you seen that? Do you know what I'm talking about? It's almost like it's a mob strategy. It's actually this is what they do. They figure, right? I mean, it kind of makes sense when you're bloodthirsty and you're a homicidal sociopath. Is, how do we get the rest of the family or the rest of this tribe, these people we want to take out? Is we blow up their funerals and their wakes, where the rest of the family is there grieving the soldiers that have been turned into hamburger. They're blown up to pieces. They do this. And you'll notice it on a pattern. It's the same thing I was talking about the last couple of months, which I only do like one a month, maybe two a month, is that you've got this you've got the darkness, or I lost my stream there. Dang it! Right through my fingertips. So you've got them blowing up. The same thing in California is it's like, could it get worse? I mean, yes, it could actually get worse. If these Santa Ana winds come howling on schedule, it looks like maybe Monday. That's the full moon. That would be right on time, astrologically speaking, with the aspects. So you've got Mars with the moon. That's the other thing, is that you've got the full wolf moon Monday in Cancer, and it's going to appear that it eats Mars. Yeah, you heard that right. Eats, as in consumes, like the Cookie Monster eats Mars is the cookie. It's going to look like that in a way. I mean, it's kind of dramatic, but it may not look like the Cookie Monster eating a cookie. FYI, okay. Don't quote me. Well, do quote me on that, please. Yeah, I jest. But it does. This is real. And so that to me, that symbolism in itself is kind of like, it's like it kind of makes my osteoarthritis in my knuckles get all tight, kind of flared up. It's like, oh, I don't like that. So you got the wolf, Santa Ana winds howling like a crazed werewolf of London. Is there a London in California? Did they have a little town named London? Oh my God, that'd be so creepy, right? If there was a little town in Southern California or LA or a neighborhood called the London, probably isn't, but like the London Laundry, instead of the French Laundry where Governor Newsom is like just blotto, drunk, wasted out of his fucking head, drinking $300 glasses of Pinot Noir. You know that guy. That guy, the governor, the one that's really fucked up and can't do a press release right now because he's too busy blaming Trump for his wildfires in his backyard where he didn't fill up the reservoirs. Oh, I did. The reservoirs were filled. Oh, really? Where'd that come from? The atmospheric rivers? So now you're not in a drought. Well, no, there's a drought. No, the reservoirs are empty because we're in a drought. But no, the reservoirs were full. And it wasn't my fault that I didn't have them full because of climate change. Yeah, climate change. And so you'll see all these Democrats trying to frame it. You got little Marxist Bernie Sanders, Senator Sanders trying to frame this as climate change. The incompetence of these DEI hires, right? The incompetence is climate change. It's a perfect out, even though there's been record atmospheric rainfalls. It snowed in the Bay Area. FYI, you could look it up. I could even drop it in there. I'm not sure. I'll give you that one. I'd like you to do a little more research if you could. But that was actually geoengineered. Okay, the snow in the Bay Area. Really? It's like, oh, what? You don't say. What? Yes. They were doing some experiments, and that's what they claimed at the time. I don't know. Maybe they've scrubbed it. I didn't see it right off bat. But I did find that there was snowfall. They just weren't saying that it was their geoengineering that created the snow in the Bay Area mountains, little whatever they call that, foothills or whatever that is. It happened, and it shouldn't be happening in April in San Francisco, but it did, and it's because it was geoengineering. And some are saying that could have something to do with the winds. Now, it's possible. I think that there is ways to compress. Well, we know that for a fact. You don't even have to go into a deep dive. They can compress the winds. The jet streams that are going hundreds of miles an hour can be compressed down. If you didn't know that, that's an obvious. You check out climateviewer.org. I think it's .org. Jim Lee, Climate Viewer. He's all over the place, and you'll see weather modifications. You'll see patents. You'll see all this different stuff. That's a known known. It's not an unknown known or a known unknown, right? In the great sociopath, late Donald Rumsfeld's known speeches of enemy combatants, and there was these unknown unknowns that he didn't know where they came from. I kind of questioned that myself, and you could go down that rabbit hole with the winds down in Southern California. I do not recommend going down the direct energy weapon rabbit hole for this Los Angeles. Now, Paradise, we did Mike Morales, and there was a couple. They did get a couple of beams. It's questionable whether you want to call that the cause or a part of it. I tend to lean that way, but I'm not going to do that about Paradise Fire. With LA, don't do it at all. Don't talk about direct energy weapons at all, because what I noticed that did to Paradise, or Hawaii in particular, maybe Paradise too, but Maui, is that it shifted the blame into conspiracy theories, and the press were able to puff up these lunatic, deranged, stoned out conspiracy theories, guys, that were talking about direct energy weapons instead of the incompetence of the fire marshal, instead of not cutting off the fire in time, or cutting off the electricity in time, is what I mean, because the power lines will snap. Now, that was a part of Paradise as well. They didn't rake the underbush, and so PGE lost billions of dollars. They had to pay out in settlements because of lawsuit, because of their negligence. Watermelon seltzer, 0 sugar. Makes up for my little chocolate cookie if I want a chocolate cookie. Drink the seltzer, 0 sugar. But so, I digress a little bit on that. My mind is racing like a wildfire, so bear with me. So the negligence is, don't give them wiggle room to get out of their own incompetence in doing. Now, is it planned? That's different than the direct energy weapon. Was it planned? They have a 2028, and they have for years a 2028 plan for the Olympics. Did you not know that? Did you not know that Southern California was hosting the Olympics? You didn't know that? Really? Okay, well, take a look. That's a fact. There's also a 2028 plan for exactly where everyone's burned out to build a smart city. Coincidence? Could be. Intentional? Probably. But you be the judge. Okay? It's all right there. I've been sharing those data pictures of they have links and websites to the smart city. They actually planned that for Portland. And I caught wind that Ted Wheeler was getting into that. And it's still kind of lingering. They're still talking about this crazy shit. We don't want to be a smart city. Okay? We're smart enough right now. We don't need any more global smartness. Trust me. We're smarter than those fucks on the World Economic Forum. Okay? We don't need to turn Portland into some sort of little fuck up microcosm that blows up with lithium batteries. The metaphor of Rome burning, I can't think of a better techno visual than a green smart city burning with the DEI hire, or Gavin Newsom, who's kind of like Satan in a way, isn't he? I mean, don't you think? I think he kind of really fits the form in the shellac, fancy hair job, playing their little violin like a Roman Nero. And I think history, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole because I don't have the data in front of me, but I don't think it was a violin that Emperor Nero was playing. Nero. But they had some other weird instruments that I wanted to paint, but I never had time to get done because people aren't going to buy that weird little instrument painting, more than likely. You gotta go what the collectors want, what they commission you to do, whether it's cannabis flowers or something else, That's why I don't paint nudes anymore, because nudes don't sell for them. I do have. I shouldn't say that. I have sold a bunch of nudes, but not recently. Just one in the last couple of years. So it's just interesting how when you turn professional, things get weird, and you turn pro. With the art world, it directs you. Unfortunately, you don't really get to paint what you want to do a lot of times. I mean, you still got to find I still find time to do what I am interested in experimenting with. Like this one behind me here. I love this. I flipped this on the side. Now it's kind of feeling more like some sort of like germ cell. Like I feel like it's a viral load, like it's some sort of looming pandemic. But originally, it's like the spike protein. Doesn't that kind of look like the spike protein right there? I didn't intend for that at all. I had my brain, that was subconscious spike protein came out from my, you know, whatever the hell you call that cobweb dark area in the back of my noodle. Um, but it is the more that I'm thinking about all these viral loads and the avian flu and all this different stuff. It makes me feel like there's something to that. But it really was. I was experimenting with what would a black hole look like, and how does a wormhole or that, because that's time travel, is the black hole. That in theory, that's where matter meets antimatter, is that black hole. The abyss is time travel. And the question is can you survive it? And how are they surviving it if these crafts are coming and going out of our atmosphere, ionosphere, right? Out of our planet, big blue here, big blue Earth. How does that work, right? I mean, what kind of special material is that? And there's been a lot of discussion about that. That there's a special element, there's an extra element they're not talking about, and that's this material that these crafts, these little time capsules, little time traveler time capsules, if you will, are made out of. And who was that guy down there? I'm drawing a blank on him, but he's kind of controversial. People think he's a scammer, but I actually believe him. I'm drawing a blank on his name, though. Area 51 guy that was kind of like a whistleblower, but kind of like a limited hangout, kind of a strange dude. But I mean, who isn't strange these days? My God. But so I digress. When I go out on a branch like that, I got to come back to the tree. And so let me just try to reset and see if I can't share some of this from Gert. Now, if this will play, which I want to see if the audio will play, and see if I have to hit share here. This is Dr. Gert. Now, just a little background. I kind of consider him a whistleblower, but I'm giving him the benefit there because he's not really a whistleblower in the traditional sense, because he's in the vaccine business. But if you think about it, that gives him punch, because he's not an anti-vaxxer. This is a guy that's done his whole career on improving vaccines, improving this stuff, making them, and working for these guys, including, wait for it, Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. Dr. Gert Bundenbosch, worked for Bill Gates. And so most of you are going to say, oh, fuck that guy. Oh, fuck that guy. Fuck him. He's bought and sell out, paid for. Okay. Well, if you listen to him, he's actually saying stop with the jabs. Stop with the boosters. And he was saying this a couple years ago, was the only one that was in the business that I know of that was saying that. And that came from Dr. Philip McMillan. I believe he's in the UK. He's got a YouTube channel. And I'll post that stuff afterwards, hopefully, if I can. I should be able to remember that. But so he's like an intel release, and I like the guy a lot. He's very calm and collective. He doesn't like conspiracy stuff. A lot of these guys, Gert hates conspiracy. He even says this in this interview. He's like, yeah, I'm not into any of that conspiracy. And I know exactly what he was talking about. He refuses to even say the letters mRNA. He used to talk about it. Now you can see there's been a little bit of a gag order. And what he was saying a couple years ago is that when you're in the middle of a hot pandemic, global, circulating the planet, you don't juice up and do the juice-a-rooskies. So, not being a doctor and not giving medical advice, just listening to these doctors and listening to the vaccine manufacturers and the scientists that are behind that, when they say something, it really gives them punch. It's more powerful to me. And I think the audience, if we could get the message out, it's not a good time to do that. And what the mRNA does, my perspective, is it increases transmission, virulence, and also it could, that's what Gert's concern was, is lethality, increasing lethality. Because if it's turning off the natural killer cells, if it's turning off the T cells, if it's doing these things, suppressing that, then all these other viral loads, just like I was thinking, I mean, that interview he's just done, it was like I was tapped into his brain, because he's saying exactly what I was thinking. And I was thinking what he's saying now. That's the way I feel. It didn't come from me. He's the boss. Gert Bush is the boss. I mean, you can't get any more of a boss on authority on jabs, vaccines, than the guy that makes them. So, but with that said, let me see if it'll even play a little piece of Gert. And then I don't know. Hopefully you can hear.
Yeah, well, Philip, this is the thing that for me is completely, not understandable. When you talk about antibiotics, people will immediately realize, so antibiotics, right? I'm always saying, for example, an antibody or even a cytotoxic T cell, it's killing life. It's an antibiotic. It's a natural antibiotic, if you like. So, you can compare this to some extent. Everybody understands that if you don't use antibiotics the right way, if you don't respect the protocol that you have, you take this during a certain period at a sufficiently high concentration, etc., you're going to end up with resistance, right? And all of a sudden, for vaccines that induce antibodies, frankly speaking, the vast majority of our vaccines simply work on inducing antibodies. And of course, they induce T cells, but these T cells are primarily there to help the antibody immune response, to help the maturation and the longevity, the specificity of the antibody.
So I'm not sure if you can hear that. I'm testing, trying to get the audio and the video synchronized with these multi-browser and multi-sharing. But he's saying what I just said in his professional way, because he's the boss, and he's talking about the T cells. So, and he goes on and on during this interview, which is almost 2 hours. It's an hour and 42. It's an excellent interview. You've got to listen to it. He's been in hiding for 6 months. He doesn't say he's been in hiding, but I think he's been in hiding because there was death threats. They threatened to kill him, just like anybody that speaks out. It's not a joke. And this is what happened with this guy. But he's not a coward in hiding. He's just was nervous. Or whatever. He doesn't say any of that. Okay. He also doesn't talk about the mRNA. He just talks about stop doing these vaccines that are making the situation worse.
So these antibodies, right? If you, for example, vaccinate people during a pandemic where the antibody titers are still not high enough because it takes 6 weeks or 4 weeks at least for antibodies to reach this high titers. That's where you have to boost. And before that level is achieved, before full functionality is achieved, you start already to confront the virus and to be exposed to the virus. Of course, that this is going, to induce resistance and that the virus is going to escape. So that is so crystal clear for antibiotics. For vaccines, it's apparently not the case. Very clearly, I'm not generally against vaccines. But if you don't use them the right way, and if you don't understand to begin with what is going on and how the virus interacts with the immune system, and you simply say, oh, there is a new infection, I will use the vaccine, not realizing, remember now, for example, with a pneumonia virus, seasonal influenza virus, RSV, etc., are spreading like hell. And now you would vaccinate people. I mean, this is just asking for huge problems and making the whole thing much more complex and much more dangerous also, right?
This is important stuff again, because at the moment the only push that is being done now, granted they've pulled back with regards to COVID vaccination. Certainly in the UK, it's only for the over 65s and the high risk. But in the US, they're still pushing it to the whole population.
They're pushing it on everyone. They're pushing it on children. Now we've gone through this before with the showing the study. See, now I'm kind of wondering. So I'll go back in and check this stream and see where I screwed it up. That's pretty much all I do, is I just go back through and say, well, where did I fuck it up? Oh yeah, I fucked it up again. No, it really, it's not on my error. I mean, I've been doing this for a couple of years. I mean, live streams or whatever. It's the new computer and blah 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 blah. I'll get it figured out, and it's really simple shit. So, but what he's saying is really, really important. This is Gert Bosch. He's from several months. He's been off the radar. I'm glad that he stayed safe. I'm glad that he's doing what he's doing. I don't like the fact that he's still in the business, and that's where he's made his fortune, and that's where it's at. But again, I'll repeat myself for the fourth time here, is that gives his argument and caution a medical concern and demand, really recommendation, but he's demanding just stop, full stop, because we've got multiple viral loads on multiple illnesses, like he just said, that does not help to have juiced up. He doesn't use mRNA, but that's what we're talking about. They're put that messenger RNA, which is genetic code, it's genetic code, into a remedy or a therapeutic that does all kinds of weird things. It's not a normal, it does not create immunity. It creates immune escape. And he goes on to talk about immune escape and ADE, antibody dependent enhancement. So when you get it juiced up, it will skirt around all of your blocks, your therapeutics to stop it or contain it, and it grows wilder, and that's what he believes. Now, Gertz, in that video, he also corrects himself and says, well, this is why he claims that why he's been off the radar for 6 months is he couldn't figure out why what he thought was going to happen didn't happen as fast as he said he would. So he felt like he might have been in error. And he goes on to say, I was not in an error. It created a plateau. It kind of flatlined rather than just going up on all of the cases and emergency and hospitalizations and deaths. It's like that's how we see all that happen in 2020 and then 2021 when they unrolled the massive multi-pronged jab during the pandemic. Everything went spiking straight up. So it's plateaued, and he goes on to talk about why he believes that plateaued out like that, and that now it's coming on. He even uses the word tsunami. The painting here, right behind me, the tsunami, the viral tsunami. Dr. Gert is using that tsunami in the sense of a medical tsunami with what we are witnessing right now. And it's not being talked about. There's no prophylactics being talked about, homeopathic remedies that are proven, Nobel Peace Prize award-winning therapeutics that are proven in Africa and all these different places that use it for yellow fever and all these different other dengue, really nasty stuff. But it's used there and it works very well. Okay. So those are the things that are not being talked about right now. And we're just kind of like sitting on this ticking viral multi tsunami that if you're sitting on the beach and this viral tsunami comes in, it hits you on the beach and it takes you. Just like a plasma tsunami, which I had. This is the year of the snake, by the way. And I had the visual weeks ago of a plasma snake. So you've got the solar plasma, the CMEs, the electromagnetic energy. Well, you've also got that happening with these fires and these storms. So to conclude, approaching an hour, it's my rule of thumb. I try not to do it. I'm way, way long-winded. If I go past an hour, which I've done recently, and I was like, why did I do that? If I forgot something, and I got to come back to it. But I like to sum it up because I don't get a lot of views anyways. But if you go for hours and hours, you got to be Alex Jones to pull that off. Right? And he's in much better shape and a much smarter and much better looking guy than me. So I can't pull that off. And there's no sense for it either. It's like if you don't ramble on for hours, you want to condense it. Ideally, I'd like to condense it into shorter minutes. That's how you know someone's that I've been working on something. If I can get it down to a couple of minutes, man, that means that I've been condensing and thinking the thoughts and condensing the stuff. So, but to conclude, all the loose rambling feelers and little dendrites out there of these spike proteins in the painting here, which I did not mean for it to be a spike protein painting. The fact of the matter is, it's not a time to panic, but it is a time to prepare for the viral tsunami that's actually upon us, and it's not being talked about. And that means preparing for the zinc and the other naturopathic remedies that are out there. There's all kinds of different things. Z-Pack, there's different type of things that will help boost the immune system naturally and help you prepare. Psychologically preparing is just as powerful as taking the supplements to prepare, but they are equally, it's important. I also recommend a steam sauna. I haven't had a sauna for quite a while because I can't find them in Portland. $100 a month at Cascade Athletic Club. They have one steam sauna out there. I'm not driving right now. I'd have to take a couple buses and a train. I think it would probably take me an hour and a half to do my steam sauna and then an hour and a half back. So 3-hour commute. It's almost worth it. That's how much I love steam saunas. And you're sweating out that spike protein. You're sweating out fat. You're sweating out the toxins and the drinks and dust, the aluminum. All that shit comes out of your sweat. It's fat, toxins, and everything. It's ancient. Sweat lodges go all the way back to the existence. The Slavic, I always know the Russians when I'm in a sweat sauna, steam sauna. I always know the Slavic guys because they come in with vodka. Right? That's their thing. And I've talked with them before in there, and that's what they do. They like to drink a little vodka in their steam sauna when it's Siberian cold for 6 months. And I'm like, that makes sense, you know. Well, I mean, at least the steam sauna part makes sense. The vodka doesn't make sense to me because that I go into the saunas to detox. I'm not going to be adding, but listen, it doesn't matter. To each their own. It's kind of a ritual thing for them, I believe. That's what I was getting from them, not from my own interpretations of it. But steam sauna is really, really big. I think I heard Brother Jones mention that a part of his whole. He said he's off the sauce. Really important to get off the sauce because you naturally just start dropping weight even when you're off the sauce if everything's buzzing along. If you have thyroid issues or you've got other complications like hemochromatosis, iron, blood, metabolic issues, then it doesn't shed quite as fast, but it will come off. But the steam sauna is going to detox. I've heard Brother Jones talk about it. It's ancient tribal indigenous health measure. And that, to me, it's powerful. They also do this thing called a vision quest. Vision quest is taking the detox to another level. It's not just a spiritual cleansing, but you're actually looking for a visual. You're looking for guidance from the spirit world and from the spirit elders to communicate. And they will. If you're patient and in that wigwam, When you're at that point of the third round or fourth round, you usually do 4 rounds, and you're almost delirious. You feel like you're passing out, and you're stepping out, get a little fresh air, come back in. Right through there, you will see you will see some visuals. You will hear from your spiritual guides, and you will have positive direction for your path. There is positivity to be there. And I like to end on the positive because it looks like holy pending hell of viral loads. Just like Gert was talking about, it's spreading like hell. Isn't that really what's going on down there in LA? I mean, we've got at least a couple of arsonists with blowtorches, multiple fires in multiple areas. That's not one primary source. That's a team operation. It's a team operation. And yes, there has been the Death Valley there's desert down there. It doesn't get a lot of rain. They don't call it Death Valley for no reason. People that go in there die, and there's just lots of bones around in Death Valley, California. If you didn't know that, there's still fools that go in there and die or nearly die. I think there was a story just this last summer. I don't mean to laugh at the fool, but what are you doing? It's 130 degrees in Death Valley, and you're going out hiking? What are you looking for? Rattlesnakes? Put some rattlesnakes in a bag, and if you can make it out, it's only 130 degrees, bro. Yeah, you're going to die. That's why they call it Death Valley. But most of California, a large part of California, is not in drought anymore. Even a good chunk of Southern California, believe it or not, it's not in a drought zone. And even the dipshits at NOAA will say that. Their data, I just saw it today. There's a tiny little bit down through there by the deserts, and then, of course, Arizona, and then southern Texas is in major drought. I'm not saying there isn't drought. Don't get me wrong. Okay, I mean, it sounds like I'm trying to go the opposite direction and just poo-poo all this drought talk. It's a natural cycle. That's why there's deserts. Okay, guys? Okay, Bernie Sanders and you psychophants? It's not climate change. It's weather change. And we're going to have wildfires because we've always had wildfires. Even the carbon dating and the ice cores, even the ice core samples show mega fires, mega volcanic sulfur dioxide episodes in the ice core samples. It's long before there was combustible engines or industrial revolution or men replicating like we have to 8 billion some odd folks. Probably more than we've ever had on this planet. That's my guess. It's a safe bet. But you be the judge. So prepare for a major firestorm, windstorm. Heads up, California. My heart's with you. Those children are traumatized forever, just like the children in Gaza are traumatized forever, or the children in Lebanon that are going to be traumatized forever, or Israel. Children in Israel, Gaza technically is Israel, or that's your debate. Stop killing each other. Stop blowing up the children. Wherever, Syria, all these different places, they're dealing with charcoal, crispy hamburger children out of what could be avoided. The great debate: what's intentional? What's coincidence? You be the judge. I got strong opinions. I'm not here to be strongly opinionated. I'm just presenting what I have. Hopefully you heard some of that at Gert. If not, it's like 2 hours. I think I finally got through most of it. I think I fell asleep at just the tail end of that last night. But I'm pretty sure in fact, I know I did, because they end he ends on an uptick of. But Gert, I've learned after watching him over these years, I can see his body language, and he does this kind of it's not a smirk, but it's kind of like I told you so. What I said was going to happen is happening. It's unfortunate. It's tragic, and he presents there's two ways out. Either the virus takes out those that it's going to take out, and then it'll stop with the people that can stop it, and their immune system develops and gets strong. That's it. That's it. So you got to bring in your own homeopathic, because there's two ways out of this. COVID never went away. It's been mutating like hell, as Dr. Gert just said. It's been mutating like hell. And he's talking about all of these viral loads, the RSV, the HPMV, the HTTD, and the LGDBKS, and the QR-ZIPPD. All these are coming out to get you like a snake bite. Don't let the snake bite you. So I think that's a pretty good conclusion. It looks like hell is coming. Another round for California, if you can believe that. I hope that that's mitigated. I hope there's a way. I hope it doesn't happen. But I don't see how you avoid it. The way that the jet stream and the meteor, it's just predictable with weather patterns. I don't know how you avoid it. Santa Ana winds are going to howl again. So whatever fires are smoldering are going to get whipped up, and if you got little crazy jackasses with multiple cell phones and UN passports or UN credit debit cards, I think is what it was. It wasn't a passport. I think it was debit cards. Which, by the way, it's like, it's such an injustice that our people get $200 a month in food benefits per person. $200. And you're going to reward thousands of dollars on UN debit cards to strangers to come and disrespect our women and our communities? Unacceptable. That's how you lose your hearts and minds of the populace, just like with the DEI. As people would not, if you live by the DEI, we die by the DEI. Does that make sense? It's how do I flesh that out briefly in a conclusion? It's not the fact that you're hiring these certain minority pockets of sexual orientation. It's the fact that you're not hiring the quality of leadership on their merits. You're putting in incompetent people simply to meet quotas. And that's the recipe for catastrophe. Just as Gert says, the recipe for this viral catastrophe is shooting everyone up with more jabs and loads on top of what's already burning like a wildfire, virally speaking. See, there's a thread there. So God bless. Be well. Be safe. It's going to be spooky. It's the year of the plasma snake. Should be spooky. But astrologically speaking, we've got some beautiful things coming up. So it's not all doom and gloom. They're calling it a planet parade. I see a cluster in Pisces, which is intuition, but it's also emotions. So I see like Southern California, everyone's crying and soot smeared, all that soot, charcoal, and the tears. They're wiping the tears, and there's charcoal, and bam, another round comes of devastation to those same people traumatized. That's what's coming, probably for tomorrow, but it's a watch for Tuesday and Wednesday. The winds are there. If the winds are there, the fire is still going. We're in big trouble. That's devastation all the way. So anyway, I'm repeating myself. I'm going around and around and around and around and around and around. Peace out.